With the reveal of Mario Kart on the Switch 2, not only did Nintendo showcase the game now featuring 24 racers, but we also saw what a ton of this game's roster will actually look like. With every single new Mario Kart game, a major selling point is what characters are included, and this really got me thinking, what characters will we see in this game? So today, I've come up with my own custom roster of 50 characters that I think the next Mario Kart will release with. I'll be going over each Mario Kart entry from over the years, and talking about which characters are confirmed, which characters I think will be cut, and which characters might return. There's also another category for characters that I think would work better as skins, and trust me, there are quite a few of those, alongside some brand new characters of course. 50 characters is insane, but the fact that there's 24 racers in a lobby makes me think that it might not be out of the question for this next game to actually launch with 50 characters, which would be the most at launch by far in any Mario Kart game. So strap in. Hey guys, I'm Thomas from the Switch Stop, and today we're going to be predicting the roster for Nintendo's next Mario Kart game. The first game to talk about here is Super Mario Kart, and we already know that most of this roster is returning, such as Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Bowser, Koopa Troopa, and Toad. They've all been already shown in the initial reveal trailer. That pretty much covers the entire roster, except for one. Yep, I'm talking about Donkey Kong Jr. Yeah, the first Mario Kart decided to go with DK Jr. instead of Donkey Kong, and I think that was actually because this game released around the 10th anniversary of Donkey Kong Jr. That being said, back then, and even more so now, DK Jr. is kind of a niche character. However, because this game is going to be so massive, I honestly like the idea of keeping the entire Super Mario Kart base roster. So because of that, I'll include him. It's also worth noting that Donkey Kong's new model seems to be referencing not only the Mario movie, but also the classic arcade version of Donkey Kong, which would make Donkey Kong Jr.'s inclusion even more appropriate. So whether or not we get the Tours Sprite version of Donkey Kong Jr., which is just like a 2D pixel art skin, or a modernized version remade in the same style as the new Donkey Kong model, I definitely think he should return here. Moving on to Mario Kart 64, this game introduced 3D to the series and also introduced two new characters, Donkey Kong and Wario. Yeah, both of these characters were already shown off in the trailer, so there really isn't that much to talk about here. Speaking of games with little to talk about, we have Mario Kart Super Circuit, and there is literally nothing to talk about here because this game added no new characters. I mean, technically this game let you play as different colored Yoshis in its multiplayer mode. I'll talk about skins more later on, but my general rule of thumb here is that skins do not count as characters. We've already seen different Yoshi colors in the crowd in this trailer, and it makes a lot of sense for those to return, but just like in Mario Kart 8, these will almost definitely just be color palettes that you can choose on the character select screen. That's about it from Super Circuit. Let's move on. Quickly, I just wanted to thank you guys for all the support on the channel as of late. I'm recording this video on the 19th, and on the 18th, we gained over 1,200 new subscribers. That's almost the most we've ever received in one day throughout the channel's history. Let's try and see how many people we can get to subscribe just off of this video alone. So if you're enjoying it and want to see a lot more Mario Kart for Switch 2 coverage, hitting the subscribe button is seriously the best way to do that. Thank you guys, but let's get back to it. The next game to talk about is Mario Kart Double Dash, and there are several characters from this game that are also confirmed. However, it is worth noting that some of these characters are barely even recognizable in the trailer. We got 24 characters in the trailer, but we also only got 15 seconds of footage. That footage is also either on the Switch console itself or on the TV, so it's not like direct footage, and also it's compressed from YouTube itself. So it is not surprising that some of these characters are incredibly blurry in the background. There's just something so hilarious to me about looking at the Mario Kart Switch 2 wiki, which somehow exists already, and seeing character portraits where you can literally count the amount of pixels. That being said, the 7 characters we saw from Double Dash were Daisy, Birdo, Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Waluigi, Toadette, and King Boo. This leaves us with 3 characters from Double Dash that haven't been confirmed just yet. Diddy Kong is a character that I feel is really just a lock, especially with Bowser Jr. already confirmed. There's also just no way that Donkey Kong Jr. gets included, but they cut Diddy Kong out of the game. That would just make no sense. Petey Piranha is honestly a bit of a coin toss in my opinion. He wasn't in Wii or 7, but he did return for the Booster Course Pass, and I'm honestly inclined to include him simply because King Boo is already confirmed. In Double Dash, these two were paired with King Boo representing Luigi's Mansion and Petey representing Mario Sunshine. They're two massive GameCube icons, and it makes sense for both of them to be in the same game. Sure, King Boo has already been in Mario Kart games without Petey Piranha, but the fact that he's shown as one of the first characters, meaning he's probably in the base roster, it would just make sense for PD to be included, at least being an unlockable character, especially when you consider he just got added in for the Booster Course Pass, so I'm saying he's in. Now, unfortunately, we have our first cut character, and that is Paratroopa. With only 50 racer slots I'm including for this video, it was inevitable that some characters would get cut, and Paratroopa really hasn't been relevant since Double Dash. He was always just there solely as a character to pair with Koopa Troopa, and if a character was gonna get cut, it honestly makes sense for it to be this little guy, unfortunately. However, I do think that there's a decent chance he also becomes a skin too. So whether or not he's fully cut or just made into a skin, I really think it's up to Nintendo. I just don't see him taking up a full character slot, so for the sake of this video, we're gonna cut him. Mario Kart DS is the next game in line, and we already have one character from this game that is confirmed for Mario Kart on Switch 2, that being Shy Guy. This also just makes sense, considering we saw Shy Guys in the crowd, so why wouldn't Nintendo just reuse those same models, but as a character? This logic pattern also applies to the different Shy Guy colors we saw. I'm almost certain these will return as color palette options, just like in Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe. One character from DS that hasn't been confirmed yet is Dry Bones, but let's be honest, this guy just needs to return. Sure, you could say he's somewhat of a niche Mario enemy, but I feel like he's become a Mario Kart icon. He's been in DS, Wii, then vanished for a second, but returned for 8 Deluxe, and when I think of Mario Kart characters, this is one that immediately comes to mind. I guess you could argue that he should just be a skin for Koopa Troopa instead, and that could work, but I also just feel like these are just two separate characters, so I think it makes more sense for them to be different. And now for our third and final character from Mario Kart DS, this one's unfortunately gonna be another cut character, being Rob. Look, seeing Rob randomly appear in Mario Kart DS was extremely funny, but let's just be honest, he's not a Mario Kart character. Man, he's not even really a video game character, since he's really just a toy for the NES. I love this little guy, and if this list was just me picking the characters I want to see return, Rob would definitely make the cut, but realistically, in this more prediction style video where I'm coming up with a roster that I actually think they do for 50 characters, unfortunately, he's just not in there, especially since he's never returned since DS, not even in 8 Deluxe Tour or the Booster Course Pass. Moving on to Mario Kart Wii, there are currently 3 confirmed characters, those being Rosalina, Baby Peach, and Baby Daisy. Moving on to the characters that haven't yet been confirmed for Mario Kart Wii, we have Funky Kong. Funky Kong is a bit difficult to determine since he's kind of niche, but honestly, I think he returns at this point. He's just a really popular character, and kind of a Mario Kart icon considering he was so busted in Wii. I think Nintendo 100% recognizes that, considering not only he made it into Tour, but they also finally let him return to a home console Mario Kart game with the last wave of the Booster Course Pass. I genuinely think they keep him at this point, but my only follow-up question to that is, will they redesign his model to look more in line with the new look for Donkey Kong? I think they definitely have to, but every time we've seen Funky Kong in the past, he's obviously been in the more traditional Rareware style of Donkey Kong, considering, well, he's only ever existed during that era of Donkey Kong. I think they will probably redesign him, because it would be weird if there were 2 different complete styles of Donkey Kong looking characters, but just something I wanted to mention. Let me know down in the comments below if you think they redesign him, or keep him the exact same. The next character I want to talk about is you. Yes, you watching this video. You will be in the next Mario Kart in the form of your Mii. The Miis have been in every single Mario Kart game since Wii. They even got added into Tour. Considering the Switch 2 will almost definitely have Miis, there really is no world in which I see this new Mario Kart game not featuring them. They're also the main gimmick that ties into Amiibo for 8 Deluxe, where you can scan Amiibo to unlock different costumes for your Miis. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this returned here. And now for perhaps the most controversial decision on this roster. Dry Bowser is getting the skin treatment. That might sound ridiculous considering Dry Bowser is his own character, but just hear me out. I feel like it's way easier to justify Dry Bowser being a skin. Just like with Metal Mario and Gold Mario, it literally has Bowser in the name. It's just another version of Bowser, and if you really don't think Dry Bowser could be a skin, well, he already has been in Mario Kart Arcade Grand Prix DX. So if you've got a problem with me making this decision, you're gonna have to take it up with Nintendo first. I don't make the rules, not my problem. Alright, let's move on. Mario Kart 7 only has one character, and that is Lakitu. This makes a lot of sense, considering he would still be in the game regardless, and now they can just reuse his model. Next up we have Wiggler, and Wiggler's kinda iffy, but he did return in the Booster Course Pass, so of the remaining Mario Kart 7 characters, I think he's the most likely and he makes the cut. Honey Queen though is a very obscure character. It's the Queen Bee from Mario Galaxy, and while I think she's a unique and interesting character for Mario Kart, I just don't think it's very likely we ever see her return. Like, she wasn't in Mario Kart 8 or even Mario Kart Tour, and that game pretty much had every single character. If Nintendo doesn't even have a character return for Tour, I genuinely see no universe where they're included for Mario Kart 9. Lastly, we have Metal Mario, which also had a golden variant in 8 Deluxe. Look, I thought this was a neat character in Mario Kart 7, but realistically, these should just be skins. I understand that the weight class is different, but like, it's literally just the same model as Mario, but shiny. I can't justify having these characters as anything more than skins. Moving on to Mario Kart 8, we know Baby Rosalina is confirmed. As for the Koopalings, they've become pretty iconic over the years. We even get a Morton billboard behind the Yoshi restaurant, which hints towards his inclusion, and honestly, I don't see how you could cut one without cutting the others. I feel like all of them, being Iggy, Roy, Lemmy, Larry, Wendy, Ludwig, and Morton, will return in this game. Next, we have another group of characters being Pink Gold Peach, Tanuki Mario, and Cat Peach. However, these are just skins. Straight up, like again, with other characters we've said, I really can't think of a single justification for these taking up their entire own character slots. I understand they might have different weight classes, but like, look at them, they're just skins. Now for a actually difficult decision. What are we supposed to do with all these non-Mario characters? I'm gonna be honest, it really doesn't feel right cutting actual Mario characters while keeping characters from other franchises. So I've decided to just not do that. I think Link is cool in Mario Kart, but I also don't feel like he's an essential character by any means. That means Link, the villagers, Isabelle, and the Inklings are of course all getting cut. I can see a world where they return, but frankly, I think they make most sense as DLC or extra content. That's also the main reason I didn't really mention the arcade games, because all the new characters from there are third party. If we're not getting like Link or the Inklings, we're definitely not getting Pac-Man or Don-chan. Mario Kart Tour is the last game we could see characters return from. Obviously, we're ignoring skins here because Reindeer Yoshi is just Yoshi with a reindeer skin, and Tour has so many skins that going over all of these would just be a massive waste of time. Regarding confirmed characters, the only one shown so far has been Pauline, which isn't really surprising at all since she's basically been in every single Mario spin-off on the Switch, even getting added into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in the last wave of the Booster Course Pass. Talking about new characters though, Kamek is the most likely character return in my opinion, simply because she was featured in the Booster Course Pass. I also think Nabbit, Dixie Kong, Monty Mole, King Bob-omb, Chargin' Chuck, and Hammer Bro should return as well. That might sound like a lot, but keep in mind Mario Kart Tour was a game that wanted to keep you playing and also get players to spend real money pulling for characters within pipes, which were basically just loot boxes. Because of that, a lot of the original characters in that game were pretty interesting. None of the characters I just listed feel like duplicates or waste of character slots, so I really don't see why they can't all return. Nabbit in particular has already gotten a hint within this game, with his name and logo being visible on this box in the background, so I don't think it's far-fetched to say that some of the other Tour original characters could be included as well. Regarding Boomerang Bro, Fire Bro, and Ice Bro, yeah, these are just skins. Mario Kart Tour had character-specific items, so it kind of made sense to keep them separate in that game, but here, not so much. Captain Toad is a character that also feels like it should just be a skin, but according to the wiki, Captain Toad's his own character. He even had a unique icon for his cart that had the little explorer headband and was different from the normal Toad icon. So I guess he's worth mentioning. Obviously though, this would be a skin no matter how you slice it. Next, to all the Poochie fans out there, I'm sorry, but this guy's getting cut. Look, Nintendo added an entire track for the Booster Course Pass to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, specifically themed around Yoshi's Island, and Poochie was nowhere to be seen. I understand Poochie wasn't in Mario Kart Tour at the time, but he was literally added alongside this track. If they were fine with adding the track before it was in Tour, I don't see why the character is any different. So out of all the Tour characters, this is one of the most likely ones to be cut in my opinion. Lastly, we have Peachette, and no, just no. I don't want this character in Mario Kart, not even as a skin. I want Nintendo to go scorched earth with this character so that we never see it in another Mario game again. So throughout this video so far, I've mentioned 45 characters that I think will return, meaning that in this part where we get to mention the new characters that will be added, because there will definitely be new characters added, we have 5 slots left. So, well, let's make them count. First up is Goomba. Okay, before you talk about how stupid of a choice this is, Goomba is literally the first enemy you see in Super Mario Bros. How has Koopa Troopa been in Mario Kart this entire time, but Goomba is just ignored? Okay, sure, he doesn't have hands, but if he can swing a bat, I think it's time to see him behind the wheel. Not only do I want this because I think it would be funny, but I think it's honestly deserved because of just how iconic the Goomba enemy is. The next new character is Kgan. Not only would this be some great representation for Luigi's Mansion, which as a series blew up with Luigi's Mansion 3, I mean that game sold well over 10 million units, firmly planting it as one of Nintendo's tentpole series, but he was also planned for Mario Kart DS originally. After being cut for that game, seeing Kgan finally get his chance to race would be awesome, especially with, like how I just mentioned, Nintendo has been giving Luigi's Mansion so much extra attention lately. They remade both the first two games, the third game sold incredibly well. I think it's time this series gets some firm representation in Mario Kart, and Kgan is the character to do that with. The next new character I want to talk about is King K. Rool. I would absolutely love to see this guy in the next Mario Kart. I know Donkey Kong has been getting a lot of love in this video, but like Donkey Kong is a massive part of the Mario franchise. He played a large role in the Mario movie, is the only other character to have his own dedicated land in Super Nintendo World, and is obviously getting a massive redesign in this game that might carry over to every other appearance he has in whether it's Mario sports games or Donkey Kong specific games. Having the most iconic villain from that series would just make a ton of sense, and putting the most iconic villain from Donkey Kong in Mario Kart would just be sick, especially because he would probably be amongst the heaviest characters in the game. Another racer I would love to see is a little silly. I'm talking about the Chevarian from Super Mario Odyssey. While this might seem dumb at first, it's a great reference to Mario Odyssey. Not only that, but the entire Chevarian kingdom is largely themed around racing. The big objective in that kingdom is capturing a Chevarian and winning a race. We could of course see the actual track from that game make an appearance in this one, but being able to actually race as a Chevarian would be awesome, and again, we frequently get these sort of weird throwbacks to the previous 3D Mario game. Think Petey Piranha in Double Dash, referencing Mario's Sunshine, or even something like Queen Bee in 7, referencing Galaxy. Lastly, I just want to see a character from the Mario movie. The Mario movie was so huge, and it just kind of makes sense here, especially with how prevalent Mario Kart was in that film. Personally, I've decided on King Penguin from the beginning of that movie. Penguins have been a massive part of the Mario series for a long time now, but this character also feels original to the film, so it's a great way to represent it in my opinion. The only other character I could think of is the General Koopa, like the blue shell one who turns into, well, a blue shell. And while that would be really cool because obviously his entire character arc references Mario Kart, I don't know, I think the Penguin is a more like universal pick. But with that out of the way, this is what I think the roster could look like in Mario Kart for the Switch 2. Is this a perfect roster? No. Frankly, making a 100% accurate roster is practically impossible, especially because we don't even know how many characters will be in this game. I highly doubt this is a 1-to-1 prediction of the roster we'll actually get, but it is my best guess, and also it was just a fun video to make. Let me know down in the comments below though what characters you'd like to see, whether it's a returning character or something entirely new, and if you enjoyed this video, hitting the like button and subscribing is seriously the best way to show support. With that out of the way, click the video on screen right now for more Mario Kart Switch 2 coverage. I'm Thomas from the Switched Up, signing off, peace.